Alright, so hello and welcome. In this video I am going to show you how you can go from Freepik to Illustrator and then from Illustrator to After Effects and to create a simple but beautiful animation. So this is what we are going to be doing today. Alright, so I think that we can start. So the first thing that I want to do is go to the Freepik and search for the electric car. And I'm going to provide a link in the description for this one, but I'm going to search for electric car and I will choose this one. So I will click on this one and I am going to hit download. And now you have an option to choose premium download or free download. If you don't have account on the Freepik, you are going to go free. So I will click this one, and when we are doing free, we will later on have to attribute the author, but it's for the later topic. And I am going to save this somewhere. So I have my folder and I will hit save. Alright, right now I am going to open this in the folder and I am going to right click and extract this in here. Okay, so when you get some artwork from the Freepik, usually it is going to be vector, and usually there is going to be this AI Adobe Illustrator file, but not always. And sometimes there is going to be only this EPS, but it is also going to open your vector in the Illustrator. But right now I would like to open this one in the Illustrator, and we can start to work in there. So at the beginning I'm going to have some warning that some fonts are missing on my computer, but this is like absolutely doesn't matter. So I will hit close. Okay, so right now if you try to click on the vectors in here, you can see that this part is grouped together. This part is grouped together, the car is on the separate layer, and so on. So what we can do, this I am just showing, we can highlight everything and hit Ctrl G, and this is going to group everything together. So right now if I click anywhere, everything is going to be grouped. And what we can do to ungroup is hit Ctrl Shift G, and if I hit Ctrl Shift G, it is going to ungroup it to the way it was before. Alright, so now what I want to do is to create new file. So I will hit Ctrl N and I will go with 1080 on the bottom, like 920 by 1080, but I do not want to have 920. I would like to have something wider, maybe something like 8000, like so. So 8000 by 1080, this is like optional, and I will hit create. And I would like to have something like this, because in the After Effects I would like to have an animation which is going to be like the camera movement, and it is going to be moving with the car. Alright, so now I will go back to my Freepik vector, and I will click on this one, and I will just drag it to my new composition like so. Okay, and by default it is going to be very small. So what I can do is click on this and with my shift scale this up. Alright, and this is vector, and vectors are, you are able to scale vectors to the infinity. Alright, so now what I want to do is all of this is grouped together, so I would like to ungroup this, and we are going to do the same way as before. So I will hit Ctrl Shift G, and this is going to be to ungroup my vectors. And right now everything is going to be almost everything except of the clouds is going to be separated. But what I want to do is actually I would like to group some parts of these vectors together. So I am going to click on the mountain number 1. With my shift I am going to click on the second mountain, and with Shift still holding on the last one. And right now I have selected all of my mountains, but I'm not going to hit Ctrl G right now. First of all, I would like to move this and like so, and I'm going to hold Shift to stay on the same bottom position. And now when I put this away, I am sure that I have selected only mountains, and I can hit Ctrl G. And now this is going to be grouped together. And the same thing I'm going to do for these wind turbines. So I will click on the first one, on the second one, and on the last one. And I'm going to move them with the Shift to the left, for example, and I will hit Ctrl G, and now they are going to be grouped together. And yeah, I do not want to group anything else because these bushes are grouped together, and the trees, I can have them separately. Okay, right now what I can do is select everything and with Shift and arrows put it up a little bit. Okay, because right now what we are going to do is we are going to create a road. And there are two options. You can either go, for example, to the Freepik and download some road and put it to this artwork, or we can create our own road, which is very simple in the Illustrator. So right now, I will go to my layers, and if you don't have layers or properties or anything that I have in here, just go to the window and you can click. Right now I get rid of my layers, and if I go back to the window and I will click on the layers, they are going to appear again. So here are my layers, and I would like to create new layer. So I will go to the bottom and I will click create new layer, and this is going to create a layer 2, and on this layer 2 I am going to create my road. Okay. And later on, we are going to put everything from here to the separate layer, but it is going to be on the end of the Illustrator part. So I will go to the layer 2, I will get my rectangle tool, and I will change the color to some gray like this, okay? I can go with 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, and I will hit OK. And right now what I want to do is to create a shape like this. Okay, cool. The next thing that I would like to do is to create a line which is going to be in the middle of the road and which is going to be a dashed line with the gaps in between. So what I can do is go to my shape tool, and on the bottom there is this line segment. So I will click there, and then I will go to the properties, and I will go to the stroke, and I will increase my stroke to, I don't know, 8 pixels, and I'm going to click on the color, and I will change it to the white like so. And now what I can do is draw something like this, and I'm going to hold Shift and just drag like so. Okay, so now you can see that we have a white line which is 8 pixels wide. I can make this wider or smaller, it's up to you. But what I want to do is to create these gaps. So I can click on the stroke, and there is this option dashed lines. So I'm going to click this, and now we are going to have these dashes. But you can see that these dashes right now are very small. They are actually these 12 pixels or 12 parts, I don't know. And we would like to create this a little bit bigger. So I can go maybe to 120, and I will hit enter. Okay, so I think that this is kind of okay. But very quickly I want to show you that there are options with the stroke to choose how wide, how long the dashes are going to be, but you can also choose how long the gaps are going to be. Because right now the dash from here to here is 120 pixels, and the gap is going to be the same. But we have an option to go to the gap and change this to maybe 200. And right now we are going to have gaps which are going to be 200 pixels, and the lines which are going to be 120. But I would like to go without these specific gap, and everything can be 120 or 100. This is optional, it's up to you. Okay, fine. So right now we have something like this, and I will go back to my layers, and I will create a new layer. And on this layer I am going to just create some kind of background. So I will go to my shape tool, I will get a rectangle, I will choose some color like this. It's again optional, you can choose whatever you want, and I will hit OK. And right now my layer 3 is on the top, so by drawing the shape I am going to temporarily hide everything, but it doesn't matter because later on we are going to put the layer down. But I am going to draw it like so, and now I am going to put this down. And I really hate this color, so I am going to change it a little bit like so, maybe like this. It's up to you. Okay, so we have something like this. And now what I want to do is I would like to get my car in here. So now when my background is selected, and I will go to my artwork in here, and I'm going to drag my car to here. My car is going to appear on the background layer, probably, like so. And it is going to be very small, so I will have to scale this up a little bit. And right now, my car is not visible through the road because it is on the layer 3, on the bottom layer, and the road is on the top. So what I can actually do is create one more time new layer, and then open my bottom layer, get my car, and just drag my car to the layer 4. And now my car is going to be on the separated layer, and it is going to be on the top. All right. So now what we have is we have 4 layers. One layer is background, one layer is road, one layer is car, and one layer is everything else. All right. So now one thing, and if you want, you can keep these balloons, clouds, and sun, and do some animation with them in the After Effects, but I'm going to skip them because I do not want to make this complex and I do not want to have too many layers. But if you want to use them, I would suggest to create a new file, and maybe I would go with 2000 by 2000. It really doesn't matter. I am going to hit create, and now I'm going to get all of them like so to the new composition, and here you can separate them and save them and use them in the After Effects if you want, but in here I am going to delete them like so. All right, so now what we have is we have these wind turbines, we have this mountain, we have one tree, second tree, solar panels, and the bushes. And if I open my layer 1, you can see that we have all of these layers. 1 tree, second tree, mountains, this is turbines, this is solar panel, and these are bushes. Okay, so now what I can do is click on the layer 1, go to this icon on the right corner, and choose release to layer sequences. And if I click this is going to make all of the groups in here to be layers. But right now what we have to do is select all of these layers and drag them either here or here or here. And for example, we can go to the bottom like so, but they are going to be for the second not visible. Hey, what happened? I will go back one more time. I am going to do it like this. And now I'm going to drag my layer 3 to the bottom like so. So like this you can get your layers, get your groups to the separated layers. All right, so we're almost done in the Illustrator, but there are still few things that we would like to do. One of them is I have in one group all of these wind turbines. But actually I would like to create an animation in the After Effects where my turbines are going to be rotating. So what I need to do is click on them, hit Ctrl-Shift-G, which is going to be ungrouping them. And now I can zoom in a little bit. And now I have separated the wind turbines. But it is still not enough because I need to ungroup this wind turbine and group the bottom part, which is going to be not moving, and group the top part, which is going to be rotating. And this can be a little bit complex, but stay with me because it is also very easy. The first thing that I want to do is I want to hide my background because I do not want to be able to move it like so. So I will hide it like this, and now I can't move it. The next thing that I want to do is go to my turbine, and I'm going to hit Ctrl-Shift-G. And right now I ungroup this, and now this is by little parts like so. Okay, so now what I want to do is zoom in a little bit and click on this part with Shift, click on this part, click in here and in here. So these are like 4 components which together are the bottom part. And now when I selected all of them, what I want to do before I will group it, I will move it away. And I'm just moving it away to make sure that I got everything. So I will go back and I will hit Ctrl-G. All right. And now I'm going to group the top part because again, it is like this is one part, this is one part, the middle is one part, and so on. But what I can do right now is to highlight everything and be careful to not highlight the turbine on the right side. So right now I have selected all of the turbine, and what I can do is with my Shift click on the bottom already grouped part like so, which is going to unselect it, and we are going to have only the top part selected. And I can move it to make sure that it is grouped. It is indeed, so I will go back and I will hit Ctrl-G. All right. So now we have the top part grouped together and we have the bottom part grouped together. All right. Now we have 2 options. We can either go with only one turbine to the After Effects, and we are going to be duplicating this one in there, or we can do the same thing for the rest 2 of them. And actually right now I'm going to do the same thing for the rest of them because I want to show you some funny stuff with parenting in the After Effects. But if you are like if you know a little bit Illustrator and After Effects, you can go with only one and duplicate it later on. But again, I will hit Ctrl-Shift-G. I will put this, and this together. I will move it to make sure. Yes, it is. I will hit Ctrl-G. I will do the top part, so I will select everything. With Shift, I will unselect this one, make sure it is together. It is. I will hit Ctrl-G. Okay, so one more time, I'm going to check this. And the last one, so Ctrl-Shift-G, zoom in a little bit, get this one, get this one, get this one, get this one, I will check this. It is. Okay, Ctrl-G. And now I am going to select the top part, unselect the bottom part, make sure it is, and I will hit Ctrl-G. Alright, this was kind of difficult, time consuming, but it's okay. So now in my layer 7, actually I should have the 6 layers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, fine. Now we are going to do the same thing as before. We are going to make these layers from the group. But one thing that I want to show you is don't bother naming your groups in here, because for example, if I double click and I will call this to be top 3, like top top on the top and the number 3, and this is going to be bottom 3. So I will rename this to be bottom 3. One more time, bottom 3, like so. These names are going to disappear as soon as I go to the layer 7, and if I choose release to layer sequences, there are going to be new names, layer 11, 12, and so on. So don't name all of your layers before you release them like so, because your naming is going to disappear. Alright, and now one more time I'm going to select all of these layers and I am going to put them like so, somewhere, so they are outside. And now my layer 7 is going to be empty because we have put everything away, and I can delete it like so. Alright, so there we are. And the last thing that we need to do is to separate the wheels from the car. And this is also going to be a little bit more complex because there is this tiny thing that we have to adjust, but stay with me and it is going to be simple. Okay, so I will temporarily move my car down in here, and what I want to do is click Ctrl-Shift-G, and this is going to ungroup my car. Okay, and now you can see that we have like a lot of components in the car, and all of them are right now ungrouped. Okay, but what we can do is these wheels are grouped together. All right, but there is little issue, because these wheels are grouped together with this shadow in here. Okay, and it's like if we later on want to rotate this in the After Effects, it would look like this, and that is not good. Okay, so I will go back like this, and now what I need to do is actually I will open my car like this, and I am going to lock my wheels. So my wheels right now are locked and you can't move them. And now what I can do is highlight everything like so. That is the reason why I have put it down, and I can right now move this away, and you can see that this is like the whole car without the wheels. So I will go back and I will hit Ctrl-G, and now my wheels are below the car, which is no problem. I can put them like so on the top. But now what I need to do is go ahead and actually unlock my wheels. Click on the wheel, hit Ctrl-Shift-G. This is going to ungroup this, and again we are going to have all of these components, but it's okay because I can click on this part, okay, like so, and on the car, and I will hit Ctrl-G, and I'm going to hide the car, okay, which is like so. So I have hidden the car, and now I can group the rest of the wheel, and I will hit Ctrl-G. Okay, and I will put my second wheel on the top like so, and we will have to do the same thing in there. So if you didn't get it the first time, I am going to repeat it one more time. Now my car is locked, but if it's not locked, it is grouped like this, even with this part. So I'm going to hit Ctrl-Shift-G on the wheel. Then I'm going to click on this shadow part, on this part, and with Shift on the car. Now I'm going to hit Ctrl-G to group them together. Then I am going to hide the car so I can select my wheels without selecting car, like so. And I can hit Ctrl-G. And right now, what we have is if I unlock this, car on the separate layer and wheels without the shadow on the separate layer. And in other Freepik vectors, you would probably have the car with the wheels, which you only need to group and ungroup. But in this case, we had it like this, and I wanted to show you how you can work with this. All right, and now, again, what we can do is go to the layer 4, go in here, release 2 layer sequences, highlight all of them, put them up. My layer 4 is going to be empty, and I will delete it. And now what I can do is select it like so, everything, wheels and car, and put it in here, like this. Okay, so right now we have a bunch of layers. 6 of them are because of these wind turbines. And we have mountains, we have trees, we have roads, and so on. And one thing that I didn't notice before, I don't know why I didn't notice it, but my background, if I click on my background, I have a stroke, and I do not want to have a stroke on my background. So I will go ahead and get rid of it like so. And right now I don't have the stroke around. I didn't see it before, I don't know why. Okay, so now we are going to save this with the layers like so, and we will go to the After Effects, and in the After Effects we are going to design it a little bit more. Because actually it would be better to design this in the Illustrator, but in that case you would have too many layers. So one, maybe a little bit suggestion before we will go to the After Effects is you can right now create one more composition, and in this composition don't bother with the layers and just create your own design. How would you like to have the mountains and trees and so on, and use it as a template to work in the After Effects. But it's up to you. We are going to save this and we will go to the After Effects. So I will go to the file and I will hit save, and I am going to save this somewhere. I will save it somewhere and I will see you in the After Effects part. And actually, if I hit save, you are going to have these options, and you do not want to change anything, just hit OK. Alright, so right now we are going to continue in the After Effects. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag my Illustrator file that we created in the first half into the After Effects. So I'm going to drag it like so, and it is going to give me an option to put it as a composition or as a footage. I would like to go with composition, and you can choose this to be layer size and just hit OK. Alright, so right now what I want to do is double click on my composition, and it is going to open it like so. So right now what we need to do very quickly is go ahead and rename the layers. So this one I will hit enter, is going to be BG, like the background. This one is going to be 3, 1. This one is going to be 3, number 2. This one is mountains. And this one, I am going to call this wind 2. I will copy this. This one is going to be wind to top. This one is going to be wind 1. This one is going to be wind 1 top. And actually I'm going to put wind 1 and wind 1 top below wind 2, like so. And we are going to do the same thing for wind 3, like so. And this naming, you do not need to name your layers, of course, but if you have many layers, it's always good to rename this. So this is solar panel, and these are probably the bushes, I guess. Bushes, I can make sure that yes, those are bushes. This is going to be road. This one is actually empty layer, and it could happen because in the Illustrator, when we made the release to layer sequences, it leaves the empty layer, and this was probably one of them, so I will delete this one. And this one is road. This one should be car, I guess. Yes, so car. And this is wheel 1. And the next one is going to be wheel 2. Alright, fine. So now when we have this, we can go ahead and start to create some animations or some changes. The first thing that I would like to do is zoom in a little bit, and if I click on the mountains or on the tree, you can see this anchor point in the middle, and this is the point around which these layers are going to be rotating, scaling, and so on. And what I want to do is to move this anchor point on almost all of my layers to the bottom. And there are plugins like Move the Anchor Point or Duik and some other plugins which can make this moving anchor point like really efficient. But I do not want to use any plugins, so I will show you how you can do this without them. So if you go to the pen behind tool or hit Y, you can go ahead and move this. And if you are going to move this and you are going to hold Control, it is going to snap to the middle or to the bottom or to the top. And we would like to leave this in the bottom like so. The problem is that if I have the plugin, I can move multiple layers, the anchor point of multiple layers at the same time. But if I click on the one tree and on the second tree with the shift, and I would go to the move anchor point, it is not going to be working. So very quickly, what I have to do is do this separately. Alright, so I will click on the tree, like so, and with my Y, I am going to show, move this down with the control, like this. The same thing for the tree in here. And now, these wind turbines, the bottom parts, I want them to have the anchor point at the bottom, all of them, like so. And temporarily I will hide the car so I can see, like this. And it doesn't matter whether you are in the middle or at the left like this, okay? It's optional. And so we have all of them. We can also go with the solar panels like so. All of them are have the anchor point at the bottom. Okay, these bushes we can ignore them, and we are not going to be doing that for the car because with the car we are going to have different animation. And one more thing is that with the wind 1, up to wind 3 top, we also need to move the anchor point. But right now, I will zoom in a little bit, and I want to move the anchor point with the control to stay on the line approximately to the middle, like so. And I want to do the same thing for this one, and I want to do the same thing for the last one, like so. Because right now, if we are going to be rotating them, they are going to be rotating around this middle anchor point. Okay, fine. Now, what I want to do is parent my wind 1 top to the wind 1, wind 2 top to the wind 2, and wind 3 top to the wind 3. Because now, if I move my wind 3 somewhere, my wind top is going to go with it. If I don't parent it, it is not going to go. So, for example, if I hit rotate and I will rotate it like so, it is going to be together. But if I unparent this and if I rotate this, it is not going to be going together. So I will parent it like so. Alright. And now what I want to do is animate the mountains, the wind turbines, and the tree. So they are going to, I want to animate the scale. And in the scale is going to be the Y scale and the X scale are going to be constrained together. So if I try to scale this down, it would go like so. But what I want to do actually is uncheck this constraint proportion, and now I can animate either something like this, or I can animate something like this, okay? And I would like to create an animation which starts at 0, which goes up and down, swing a little bit, and then stay on the position, all right? So I will go back to the 100, and what I want to do is for these mountains, for the tree, so mountains, tree, second tree, and these bottom wind turbines, like so, and maybe even these solar panels. So these few layers, I am going to open the scale, and I am going to individually unclick this, okay? And there are plugins which helps you to do this at the once, but we are not working with the plugins, so all of the scales we need to separate like so. And it's only 7 layers or so, so it was really quickly. And now what I want to do is put all of them to the 0, then click on the keyframe on the scale, and now with my shift and page down, I can go maybe 20 or 30 frames, and I will animate this to maybe 123%. Something which is bigger than 100 and bigger than maybe 120, okay? So the next thing that I want to do is move maybe by 20 frames or 22, 3, so I will go 1 more 3, 24 frames. And now I am going to animate this down. And at the end, we are going to end on the 100%. And now we went from 0 to 123. So I would like to go maybe to 90 or 80. No, we can go to 90, okay? And now what I want to do is to move maybe 18 frames. So I will go 10, 20, and go 2 frames back. And I want to animate this to maybe 105, for example. Then I would like to go maybe only 10 frames or 11, something like this. This is optional, we are just playing. And I would go maybe to 98%. And then I would move 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 frames, and I would put this to 100. All right, and now what we have is we have an animation which is going from 0 to 120 to 90 to 105 to 97 to 100. All right, and now this is all linear movement, so it's not going to be looking very good. All right, but there is something called easings, and easings are going to make the movement not linear, but slowly at the beginning, faster at the middle, and slowly at the end. I will not explain this in this video, but what you can do is select all of the keyframes that we have, hit F9. This is going to change the keyframes. And right now, if you play the animation, it is going to look much better. So right now, this is what we have. And I think that this looks much better than the normal animation without easing. And now, if you want, you can go ahead and move these keyframes in here, or you can move them like so, or you can highlight all of the keyframes and with the Alt, move them like so or like so, or you can go ahead to this position, select all of these keyframes and change them, and so on. So these numbers that I created were arbitrary, and the only thing that I was following is every time that I make new keyframe, there is a little bit less space. There is a bigger space between first and second, then between second and third, and so on. And this one is like 24% from 100. This is 10 from 100. This is 5 from 100, and so on. So by doing something like this, you can create animation like so. All right. Now what I want to do is I would like to rotate my wind turbines. All right. So what I am going to do is hit Ctrl A to select everything. Then I'm going to close one of them, which is going to close all of them. And I will go to the wind one top. I will go to the rotation. And what you can do is, even though right now we can't see it, but it is there, we can click the keyframe on the rotation. And we can go maybe to second 17, it doesn't matter. And this on the right side is going to say how many angles this is going to be moving. Okay, I will go back. And this one, if I hit 1, this means that it is going to have one round. This is 360 degrees. If I go ahead and put 2, this means that this is going to be rotating 360 degrees 2 times, which is 720. Okay, so it would be like so. So I would like to create this much faster. So probably I can go with something like 20. And this means that by these 15 seconds or 17 seconds, this is going to be make 20 rounds. And this is probably going to be, too fast. So the best thing probably is going to be something around 10. So I can go maybe with 12 like this. And I think that this is still pretty fast, but it's okay. So this is one way how you can create a rotation on the wind turbines. The second thing that you can do is go to the rotation, and this is a little bit more advanced, but I would like to show you. You can go ahead and create an expression. Expression is very little JavaScript in the After Effects, which is going to create some kind of animation. To make an expression, you need to click on the keyframe, but you need to hold Alt. So I will hit Alt and click on the keyframe. And now what I can do is hit time, then time like this. and I can type, for example, 20. Okay, and now I'm going to play this, and this is going to be moving, and it is going to be moving very slow, because this time 20 means that every second it is going to move by 20 degrees. Okay, but I can go ahead and change this, for example, to 360, which would mean that it is going to change 360 degrees every second, and in my opinion it is going to be very fast. Okay, so it is. So I can change this to maybe 150, like so. All right, and now we are going to have something like this. So you have two options. You can either go ahead and animate one keyframe, then animate the second keyframe somewhere, and have animation like this, which is going to stop when we go beyond the keyframe. Or you can have an option to create an expression, very simple expression like this, which is going to animate this forever. Okay, so it's up to you which one you are going to choose. But one more thing that I want to show you with kind of expressions, but these are not expression anymore because you are not writing anything, is you can go to the third one, hit R for the rotation, click on the keyframe with the Alt, like so, which is going to be like giving you space to write the expression. But right now you have this little icon, which is like the parenting, and you can go ahead and parent this rotation to the rotation of the first one, and it is going to write some code, which is like it's like this composition layer, name of this layer, transform rotation, but never mind. But this means that my last one is going to be doing the same thing as the first one. So if I play this, it is going to be animating the same speed. And if I go ahead and change this one from 12 to 20, for example, the third one is going to be the same as the first one. Okay, and actually what I can do is go ahead and do the same thing for the second one, like so. And right now what I can do is make this again to be 12 or 11, and all of them are going to have the same speed, and I can control the speed from this position, from this rotation. So if I go ahead and change this to 5, all of them are going to be the same and are going to have the 5 rotations in these 17 seconds. So it's up to you. You can do every layer individually, or you can do it like this. This is tutorial, and this tutorial is showing you some options. All right. Now what I'm going to do is I am going to animate my car. So I will go ahead, I will show my car, and what I want to do is parent my wheel 1 and wheel 2 to the car. Alright, so I will parent it like so, and now if I go to the position and I move my car, my wheels are going to be animating with the car. Alright. One more thing that I wanted to show you is that in the Illustrator we have created composition which is 8000 by 1080. We can go ahead and change this if we want. Alright, so imagine that I would like to animate my car from here, and I would like to have this on the beginning like so, and on the 15th second I would like to move my car like so. I will zoom out a little bit and I will move it to the end like this. Okay, and I'm going to play this, and this car is moving pretty slow. Okay, so what I can do is I can make this faster like so. Put it on the 10 seconds. But yeah, it's still not really very fast. All right. So what we can do is actually make the composition wider. So I can click on my composition, right click, composition settings, make sure that your lock aspect ratio is not checked. It shouldn't be, but it can be. So uncheck that. And you can make your width to be 10,000, for example. And I will hit OK. So right now, what I can do is click on my background and make it bigger like this. And the road, well, we have two options. We can either recreate the road if we like the lines and the gaps in between, or we can be like whatever and just make it bigger like so. Okay, so this is how I am going to do it. And now we have we went from 8,000 to 10,000, and we have much more room for the, not much more, but we have a little bit more room for the animation. So I can move my car at the beginning like so in here, and at the end I can move it like so. Okay, fine. Now I am going to animate the wheels. So I will zoom in a little bit. I will go to the wheel 1. I will hit rotation. And actually, do we want to go with expression or with the normal animation? I will go with the normal animation. I will hit keyframe on the rotation. And I will go ahead in here. And I will make this to be, I don't know, 20. So now we are going to have 20 rounds. Now what I can do is go to the wheel 2, hit rotation, and I can click with Alt on the rotation and parent the rotation to the rotation of wheel 1. And now they are going to be doing the same thing. And I can go ahead and change this from 20 to 15 if I want this to be slower, or something higher if I want that to be faster. Alright, fine. Now what I want to do is again click Ctrl 8 to highlight everything and to close everything like so. Now what I want to do is actually I would like to duplicate my tree few times. So I will hit Ctrl D on my tree too, and with my shift and arrows I am going to move it somewhere here like so. Alright, and I am going to duplicate it one more time, Ctrl D, and one more time I am going to move it somewhere here. Alright, the same thing I am going to do with my mountains, so I am going to hit Ctrl D to duplicate them, and with my shift, or I can with arrows or like this, I can move them like so. Cool. And now we are going to have all of them in here. Fine. Now I also want to duplicate my wind turbines, but it is kind of strange, because we have instead of one layer, which is for example mountains or trees, we have 6 layers on these wind turbines. So one of the options that I could do is go ahead and select all of them, right click and pre-compose them. And if you know how pre-composing works in After Effects, go ahead and do it like that. But there can be some kind of problem maybe. So in this tutorial, what I am going to do is I am going to select this like so, hit Ctrl D, which is going to duplicate them, and it is going to duplicate them like so. We have wind 1, and over wind 1 we have new wind 4, and so on. So what I want to do right now is drag all of them while they are selected and I am going to put them maybe over the solar panel. So I have distinguished between the old winds or the first winds and new one. And while all of these new ones are selected, I can move them with my shift and arrows somewhere here, like so. Maybe up in here. And now we have wind turbines in here on the beginning, and we have also one at the end, like so. Okay, fine. Now what we want to do is we are going to create an animation which is going to be some kind of camera effect, and we would like to go ahead and delay the animation of these mountains and the next mountains and the next wind turbines, so they are going to be animating when the car is going to be reaching them. All right, so what I can do is go ahead, click on the mountains, hit U, and I can select these keyframes and move them like so. And now they are going to be animating later on. And you can play with them. It's like whatever you think that looks fine. Okay, we can do the same thing for these three. So I will hit U, and I am going to move the keyframes like so. Fine. We are going to do the same thing for the wind turbines. The second one, but only wind 4, wind 5, and wind 6. I will hit U, and I am going to highlight the keyframes, and I am going to move them maybe like so. So they are going to be like this. Okay, and the same thing for the mountains in here. So I will hit U, and I am going to move this somewhere in here, and these three, actually I will just delete because I do not want to move it. Alright, so we have something like this. Okay, now what I want to do is we have these bushes in here, and I just want to duplicate them and move them maybe at the beginning somewhere, and also duplicate it one more time and move them somewhere else, somewhere maybe in here, like this. Okay, cool. So we are almost done, and now what we want to do is we would like to create this camera animation. You can go ahead and play with the camera, but I have a little bit different way how I would do this, and now I'm going to show you. So I will hit Ctrl A again, and I will hide everything, and I will hit F2, which is going to deselect everything. Then what I want to do is click Layer, New, and I would like to create a null object. And null objects are just objects which are not visible, and you can parent something to the null objects and then move it. And right now what I want to do is everything which is not parented yet, I would like to parent to this null object. And just to explain this little bit, my wheel 1 is parented to the car. And if I parent my car to the null object, and I will move the null object, my car is going to be moving with the null object, but also the wheel, because the wheel is parented to the car, and car is parenting to the null, which means that if I move null, it is going to move the car, and if car is moving, the wheel is moving. Okay, so that's why we do not need to parent all of them, but only those which are not parented yet. And if you don't know why we are parenting them, you will see later on. So every one of them which has none, I am going to click on that with Ctrl, like so. And like so, and like so, and like this. So try to make sure that you got all of them which are not parented. And now go ahead and parent them like so to the null object. Okay? And the reason is that right now, if I go to the null object and I will move it, I am going to move everything with the null object. Okay, so I will go back. And why do I want to do this? The reason why do I want to do this is because I do not want to have the composition which is 10,000 by 1080. I want to have the composition, the normal composition, which is 920 by 1080. Okay, but before I will do that, I will actually save this because I forget to save this, and we should always save the After Effects files. So this is going to be just car somewhere, and I will hit save. So this is something that I should have done at the beginning, but I didn't, I'm sorry. But now what I can do is go to the electric car composition, right click, go to composition settings, and now you can change this 10,000 to 920. Make sure again the log aspect ratio is not checked, and hit OK. Alright, and right now what I can do is with my null move the position, and it's actually moving everything, but it is going to move it to the viewport like so. So I would like to begin like this. Okay, I'm going to hit the keyframe on the null object, and I will move. I will zoom out a little bit, and actually where my car is finishing, I will hit U somewhere here. I will move my my null object in there. And this is pretty slow, so what I can do is hold shift, and if I hold shift, it will be dragging faster. So I can do something like this. And now what I can do is zoom in a little bit and play this. Okay, and now we have an animation like so. Okay, and now we can see that some of these animations are happening too late. So what I can do is, for example, right now, I can click on these mountains, I can go ahead, hit U, and I can make them a little bit later, like so. Something like this. Okay. I can do the same thing for the wind turbines. I could do the same thing for all of the trees and so on. So you get the point, and once you get the point, you can do anything with that. So I can select my Wind 4, Wind 5, Wind 6, because those are the ones which are animated from the bottom, and I can make them to be like so. So they are animating like this, but this is too late in my taste, so something like this maybe like so. Okay, the mountains in here, the second mountains, mountain 2, I will hit U, and I will do this like so. Maybe a little bit earlier. Something like this. So you can go ahead and play around. And yeah, so this is it. This is the animation that we have created. And as I said, you can go ahead and play around. I can actually go ahead and animate this out, the car like so. You can make it like this. Oh. But the problem is that the rotation of the wheels ends in here. So I can actually go to my wheel 1, hit U, and move it up to here. And it is going to leave the scene with the moving wheels. Alright, so there are a couple of things that I would like to do at the end of the video because I didn't like them when I previewed the video. So one of the things is that in my taste the car is too big for this animation. So I will go to the car, I will go to the scale, and I'm going to scale it down a little bit. Okay, maybe like so. But right now I would like to position my car, and I do not want to change my keyframes. So I am going to hit U, and you can see that we have these keyframes on the car. And the thing is that I have an option to separate dimension on the position. So I can right click on the position and I can choose separate dimension. And right now you can see that we have keyframes on the X axis, which is from left to right, which we want to keep. But we also have the keyframe on the Y axis, which is going to be same all the time, which is this 176. And on this keyframe, it is going to be the same and so on. So this one I can unclick and I'm going to get rid of all of the keyframes. And now I can put it down a little bit if I want. Okay, and I'm going to play it right now. And yeah, I think that when my car is smaller, it looks much better. Okay, and the thing is that I'm not really sure why this happened, but these keyframes are eased, and I want to highlight them and with Control click on them, so they are not going to be eased. Alright, so they are going to be the normal keyframes. And I am not really sure when did I change them to be easy eased keyframes, but I would like to have them as the normal keyframes. Alright, fine. Now, a few more things. You can see that these bushes, for example, they are, if I zoom in a little bit, they are over the road. So what I can do is click on these bushes. We didn't animate them, and I am going to put them down a little bit. Alright, and we have the same problem with the bushes in here. So I'm going to do the same thing for them, like so. The solar panels, I'm going to hit position, and the position is not keyframed, because if it was keyframed, we would have to do it differently. But I'm going to position it also down a little bit, and I'm going to check everything. This tree also is over the road, so I'm going to check whether the position is keyframed. It's not, because we didn't keyframe the position, and I'm going to put it down like so. And these mountains are okay, except of this part. So I'm going to position it down like so. And these bushes also I need to position them down. And probably that's it. Okay. This one I'm going to position down, and right now we are done. Alright, fine. And the thing is that I thought that my car, the animation of the car was kind of good, because here I have the small preview, but when I opened this animation in the big preview, I realized that the car is too big. And one thing that I want to say is that there is an option in After Effects before rendering to check the animation in the full view. And the thing is that there is this on the keyboard between the button and escape, between the tabulator and escape, there is this keyboard, and you can click that, and it is going to make this full screen. and then you would have to go to fit. Alright, and right now I can play this animation in the big view in the After Effects. Okay, and I think that this looks pretty fine. So yeah. Alright, so we are done, and the last thing before we are going to render this is we are going to make the composition smaller, okay? Because my animation ends in here, like so, and this is the place where I am going to stop my animation. So while I am going to be on this position, I am going to just hit N, which is going to be like the end of the work area, and then I am going to right click like this on the work area and choose trim comp to work area. And this means that right now my animation and my render is going to be only these 12 seconds. Alright, and right now what I can do is go ahead and export this to Media Encoder Q. So I will go to the file, I will save this, and I will go to the file, export, add to Adobe Media Encoder Q. Right now this is going to take a few seconds or minute. Okay, so right now this is open in Adobe Media Encoder, and what I want to do is, if by default you don't have this on H.264, go ahead and change it. If you want to have a different file, it's up to you, but I am going to go with this one. You can go to the match source in here and change few things if you want. For example, the only thing that I would change in here is the bitrate, because right now the bitrate is set to 10 and the maximum bitrate is 12. And if you want to have a little bit smaller size, for example, right now it is 14 megabytes, you could go to maybe 8 or 6, and it would create a smaller file size, but it is also going to be little less, it can lose the quality a little bit. So it's optional, but I think that 14 megabytes is fine, so I can go with 10 and maximum bitrate 12. Alright, so I am going to click OK, and in here I can choose where I want to save my animation, so I can go to the desktop, for example. I will click save, and right now all I need to do is click this little green arrow and my render is going to start. Okay, so yeah, this is it. Thank you very much for watching. If you like this video, hit the like. If you are interested in more videos like this, consider to subscribe. If you have a friend that would maybe learn something from this kind of tutorials, share this with them. It would be very, very good also for me to get a little bit more exposed. So yeah, thank you very much, and see you on the next video. Goodbye.